Hello, 45 Alpha Charlie Papa Channel, and today we're going to take a look at the rise and fall of a modern gun company. And that would be Honor Defense, who made the 9mm Honor Guard single stack pistol. Now, they basically made this pistol, and that's about their only offering. They did have a couple configurations. You can get the compact like this one. You could have got the long slide with a little bit longer slide. The frame, the 7 or 8 round magazines were the same. Toward the end there, 10 round magazines were available. Or they had the fist frame, the compact frame with an extension on the frame here that came out about 1/4 inch past the muzzle here, and that was for close quarter combat. If for some reason you had to push your firearm into something, the Achilles heel to a lot of semi-auto pistols is that and we are empty, you can see I just checked it, if you press this up against something, it's out of battery. It's just a little bit. It doesn't take much to push that out of battery. So that frame integrated standoff device on that frame allows you to put it up against something and not rack that slide back and disable the pistol. All American made. When they brought this out, they wanted it to be 100% American. They didn't want to. They went through American manufacturing, and they did not want the manufacturing or American manufacturing to, sublet out to foreign manufacturings. I mean, they wanted it all to be American made, so that veterans were assembling these. He wanted to support America as much as he could. In fact, so much so that in the box there was a cheap Chinese gun lock in there with a note apologizing for the cheap Chinese gun lock, but there were no American manufacturers making a firearm lock at that point. Everything had been shipped overseas, so unfortunately for that. Now, if you want to get into some of the technical stuff, some of the real deep thoughts on this, check out Clovertac. He's got a video out there, video chat out there that he did with Gary Ramey, the president of Honor Guard, and he talks about the pistol and a lot of the stuff that they went through of developing this pistols and all the features on this pistol, because this was pretty feature rich. This was not a pistol that came out to compete with the Skies of the world or the High Points or the Ring of Fire guns of the world, or necessarily the Tauruses, although the Taurus has really upped their game recently. This was built to compete with the SIGs and the Glocks and the Smith & Wessons of the world. And quality-wise, looking at it, it shows it. It's really, really well made and well done. Kind of go over some of the features. They were founded in 5/13/2014, when they pulled their business license in Georgia. Took them a couple of years to finish up development of this. They started shipping out 2016. In 2015, a few T&E guns went out. 2016 is when these were started to ship out to the gun stores and to the public. They went through a lot of different design changes. When they made this gun, they went to a lot of people who actually carried firearms for a living, and found out things that they wanted, things that they thought were wrong on other pistols, carry pistols of the time. And there are a lot of innovations on this due to all those talks that they had with them, and they were able to integrate into the firearm. To give you an idea on how fast they rose, in 2016 when they started shipping these, they had shipped none at the beginning of the year. They were 596th for semi-auto handguns in the sales in the United States. By the end of 2016, they were number 23, just behind CZ. Just to give you an idea of the meteoric rise that Honor Guard had with their honor defense, or their honor defense head with their honor guard pistol. I remember seeing these all over the place at gun shows. I mean, these just came out of nowhere, and everybody was selling them. They were a nice handgun, very well fit and finish, done up really well. And let's kind of go over a few of the features on this that made this what it was. If you can see here, sights. Let's start at the top, work our way down. Sights. They are an all-metal sight. If you notice, we've got kind of a reverse Novak style on the back. They also made sure that these sights were the same pattern that Glock uses. So if you didn't like these sights, you could change them to a Glock sight. The reason for this interesting shape on this rear is he was talking to somebody, and they talked about putting Novak sights on it so they'd be easy to put in the holster. Now think about that. You know, you're carrying a gun every day. Do you want it easy to go into the holster or snag-free coming out? Snag-free coming out. They also left the ledge on here. You know, the original intent was, leave the ledge on there when they flipped it around so that, somebody could rack it on their belt, somebody could rack it on the corner of a desk, corner of a wall. If for some reason their other hand was injured and they were only had one hand, they could still manipulate the firearm. But something else he found out talking to people who carry every day is there are some security guards out there that are not allowed to carry with one in the chamber. They can carry a gun and they can carry a loaded gun, but they can't carry it with a round in the chamber. I'm sure there's a reason for that. Insurance, probably somebody ruined it for everybody. I know of a armored car out there that had 2 bullet holes in it, and they both came from inside. When you're paying somebody $12.50 an hour to protect your stuff, or to watch over millions of dollars, you're not necessarily getting the most cream of the crop, shall we say. But this isn't to say you should or shouldn't carry with one in the chamber. I'm just reporting that when he was doing his research, that was something that they found, that there were security companies out there that were telling them, especially with a striker fire gun, you could not have one in the chamber. So you had to carry on an empty chamber. So having this little ledge on there for those people made sense to them, so that they could pull the gun, rack it on the belt real quick, and then present it. Not ideal, but when you're working like that, and that is your company's modus of operation, you have to do it. You've got your front and rear serrations that come up and over the top, giving you a little extra grip. Even down to the honor guard on the side here, they took a lot of flack for, oh, you got a big billboard on there. You shouldn't put a billboard on there. You got to throw your name all over it. They have to have their name on it, for one. 2, if you notice, this billboard here, it's not laser etched. It's actually engraved into the slide. So it gives you a little bit extra traction, especially if you're wet or slippery, to rack the gun. So, just little things like that. You've got a crowned barrel, got a target crown on the barrel, also helps protect the barrel, especially on an everyday carry gun that gets knocked around. You did have a very tight chamber in this, so it gave you very good accuracy. There's a balance there. They went with the actual 9mm NATO spec chamber. Did not make it generous like your Glocks and Smith & Wessons, because you're trying to wring as much accuracy as you can out of this short barrel. So you had some problems if somebody was putting like 128 grain or 150 grain bullets into this. They didn't want to feed because the bullet was too big. Now most of your carry ammo is like 120, 119, somewhere in there. Usually feeds fine through this, no problem, but you did have some instances with some 9mm out there that wouldn't fit in a tight chamber. But they made it that way simply for accuracy, and they outshot the Glocks and the Smith & Wesson shields of the day. They've got a takedown lever here. We are empty. Drop the magazine, but no trigger pull to take it down. You just put your takedown lever down and the slide comes off. It's a chassis system. You notice this one's lime green, but I've got a black chassis here that it originally came in. So you could change some colors up on it if you wanted to. You did have a back strap here that could either be flat or rounded like this one. Ambidextrous controls. Now this is more of a slide open than a slide release. You just can't get enough purchase on it to release a slide. So it's more of a slide open. You've got a little notch here that would be a frame mounted safety if you wanted a safety on this gun. Your sights are all metal. All of your controls are metal. Your ambidextrous magazine release here is metal. Trigger's metal. Sights metal. You know, all your controls and stuff are metal on this gun. So, you know, very high quality. The trigger is extra wide. They found that just placed your trigger finger in the right spot to give you a nice straight back pull and keep you from moving the gun back and forth like this when you're pulling the trigger. So, you know, a nice wide trigger on it. Just a lot of features that, you know, Honor Defense thought of when they came out with this. And it's the reason why it rocketed up to number 23 in 2016 in sales. Just well thought out. Unfortunately, when you come up with new designs like this, and when you come up with stuff, you know, they sent this out to SAMI and the National Institute of Justice for drop safety test, safety test. It passed all those tests, but so did the SIG 320 that the Army adopted, and that later found out that if it drops like that, they can go off. And that's no difference with this one. This one ended up having a drop safety issue. Even though going through the SAMI and National Institute of Justice test, it still had a drop safety issue. And that was broke by Patrick at the Firearm Rack, formerly the Firearm Blog. Yeah, and he lost his job because of that. You know, he had mentioned it to the Firearm Blog that, hey, this is not drop safe, just like the SIG P320, and they kind of pushed it off on the back burner, and he left over that, and then came out and let everybody know that, hey, these weren't drop safe. Now that kind of caught Honor Guard by surprise. You know, they'd sent it out to these places for drop safe testing, and all of a sudden, now it's all over the internet that their gun, if it drops like this, it's going to go off. Now, this one, I never had that issue with, but Honor Guard, you know, went through, got some designers, got some engineers, and redesigned the firing pin spring, the sear engagement, changed the angle on the firing pin of that, made it longer, so that you didn't have such a short pull. It does, the pull on this is a little bit stiffer than it used to be, maybe just a tad longer, due to that voluntary upgrade. And I sent this in for the voluntary upgrade. Now, why a voluntary upgrade over a recall, I don't know. I'm sure there were some lawyers that probably were involved in that. And you know, they had put a lot of money into this, and they were just starting to recuperate things. You know, this frame, the tooling just to make this frame, $100,000, and there were 9 different prototypes. Now, not to say that all 9 of them cost $100,000. They may have been able to modify what they had, but again, $100,000 just to make this frame in 9 different prototypes. $20,000 just for the tooling for the sights. So, you know, that was, you know, it's expensive to come out with one of these, and now you've got a drop safe issue. They did try their best to fix that issue. Now, later on in March 2020, they had leaked out that they had a Pro 9 firearm coming out, if you can see here, and that actually put a safety in the trigger, and that would have solved all the problems. One of the problems with the SIG 320 and this one is because the trigger is metal because it's so heavy that when the firearm drops like this and there's nothing to prevent this from moving, when it hits, that trigger keeps traveling, sets off the firing pin, and that's why they're not drop safe. So that's why they stiffened up the springs. That's why they made a little longer sear engagement, changed the angle to help prevent that from happening. I'm not sure what SIG did on theirs, but as you can see, Honor Guard with the Pro 9 that they were trying to come out with in 2020, that they showed in March 2020, they were hoping to get out, had that trigger safety in it that would have taken care of all the problems. Now, like I said, this one hasn't presented that problem. This one sits in my nightstand. It's usually my nightstand gun, or if I do carry it, it's on little short trips to the grocery store or something like that. Be a good truck gun, glove box gun, stuff like that. I work in a heavy industry truck shop, and so this is not something I would carry every day at work. I've got too much heavy stuff running around there. If something were to fall and drop on me and set this off, not only did I have something heavy hit me, but I just shot myself too, and that doesn't sound like a great day all around. So, it sits in my safe. I take it out to the range. It sits in my bedside table at the ready. Great little pistol for that. Great little pistol for the gun. If you're going to carry these, just be aware you could possibly have that issue with the drop safe. A lot of people say, well, don't drop your gun or don't get it. You do what you want to do. There are a lot of people out there that carry these. A lot of people out there that carry them and still love them, even though they know that may be an issue at some point. It's very rare, but Murphy's Law, if it can happen, it will. But like I said, the Pro 9 would have taken care of all of that. But they were starting to come back slowly, regain their market. So slowly, selling more and more of these, after that initial hit that, hey, these were not drop safe. Then the voluntary upgrade and all that. Right around 2019-ish, they lost their credit card processor. They're selling gun parts. They're a gun company. So, and their credit card processor didn't like that. So they shut them off. So it took them about 2-3 weeks to finally find another company, go through all that. I know he was advocating towards some of that, and it's not the banks. I mean, a lot of people think, well, the banks can't do that. They can't discriminate against, the companies if they're doing illegal, legal trade or, legal business, regulated business. And it's not the banks necessarily that are doing this. It is the processing companies that can do this. It's the processors that can say, hey, I don't like firearms. I don't like that you're selling firearm stuff, so I'm not going to deal with you and break their own contracts, and just got to fight it the best we can. Anyway, so he kind of got through that, and this was, kind of plodding along, and they were selling these, a little bit more and more. They were getting them into some of the big box stores. And then 2020 came around. Now, the beginning of 2020, that wasn't too bad. You had some riots and stuff out there. We were starting to sell a few of these. He was starting to, sales were really starting to tick up because, firearm sales were up. So he was really starting to move a few of these units. And, I said in March 2020, they came out with a Pro 9 that they showed that they were trying to get put together and send out. That trigger would have been swappable into this. So if that would have come out, it would have possibly been available to have that bladed trigger in here to take care of any drop safety with this. That would have been nice. But anyway, 2020 came around, and, he was selling guns. With all the unrest and the election coming up, gun sales were up. And then we had the COVID shutdowns. And that was nail one in the coffin. The problem with Honor Defense and their Honor Guard pistol is that all they did was assemble parts. They were American made. All the parts came from American manufacturing, but they just assembled the parts at their facility. Everything else was made from an outside supplier. You know, the people who make the mag were making mags for both Smith & Wesson and SIG. And the same with a lot of this other stuff, you know, the people making the molded plastic and stuff like that. So when the shutdowns came, his supply chain shut off. And he was having a hard time getting product. You know, when things started coming back up online, we're still selling a whole lot of guns in this country. And, you know, when SIG and Smith & Wesson and those call, you know, hey, we need parts, we need our magazines, we need this, we need that. Who do you think is going to get the products out first? Smith and SIG, who are making millions of guns? Or Honor Guard, that's making a few 100,000 maybe? So, you know, he had issues getting parts. The price of the parts were going up even when he could get parts. I know when they developed a 10-round magazine for these, his supplier really took him over the barrel on those. You know, he was trying to keep the prices down on that, but, you know, I'm only going to buy, you know, 100,000 magazines. Well, you know, SIG and Smith & Wesson and stuff are buying 500,000 magazines. You know, we'll make them, but you're going to pay a higher price for them. So, you know, not making stuff in-house and making it yourself was nail number one. Nail number two, during 2020, he got embroiled in a lawsuit. One of these guns fell, AD'd, and hit the officer in the leg and ruining his career. He ended up paying that out of court from what I understand. I don't know 100%, but that lawsuit did not help things at all. Towards the end of 2020, I mean, he was selling, you know, slides. He was really discounting stuff out, just trying to keep income coming. He was able to get the frames and stuff in. I got this at the end of 2020. They were, you know, these were usually like a $60 frame. He was selling them for $15, so I went ahead and picked one up. I wish I'd have picked up a couple more, but you know, he was trying to do everything he can. 2021 rolled around, January 2021, and nail number 3 in the coffin, GoDaddy shut his website down. Now, he had a lot of stuff in that website. He had gone through and had built that website over years, and now all that information, all that programming, everything on that is gone. GoDaddy shut them down. They shut down a lot of firearm stuff. He was one of the casualties of that. So, you know, you got a 1, 2, 3 punch. You can't get supply. Supplies are, you know, your prices for your parts are going up. You take a lawsuit that you end up settling out of court with, and then you lose your website. I think the writing's on the wall there, guys. And they terminated their business license with the state of Georgia 3/4 of 2021. So that was the last hurrah of the Honor Defense Honor Guard. Now, maybe when all this stuff is over, they will come back out with a new gun, or bring this gun back out, maybe under a different name or something like that. That seems to be how the Ring of Fire guys do it. We'll see. You know, I hope Gary the best. You know, he really tried to do something to come out with that Pro 9 and have that safety in the trigger. Would have solved quite a few of his problems. Actually trying to manufacture stuff on his own would have solved some problems. But right now, with manufacturing in the United States the way it is, you know, as a small company trying to get, you know, product out, you know, the big companies are taking up all the capacity, and you know, they're having a hard time hiring. They're having a hard time getting the things they need to make the parts. So small companies like Honor Defense just kind of fall to the wayside. This is 45 Alpha Charlie Papa Channel. I hope you found this informative. I've been trying to do this. I've been trying to do this video now for the last few weeks. It's been hanging me up, but I think we got through it this time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, dislike. I'm out.